Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show, everyone. I'm your host, Ben, and everyone, hey, welcome into the program. Today on the show, we have computer and technology news in the second part of the show. That's where we cover all the latest news and updates and new products, policy, just anything that is in the purview of technology. Hey, we got you covered. We spend the time so that you don't have to, and we try to keep you up to date. But in the first part of the show, we have an interview. Yes, and today's interview is none other than Waves Audio. If you haven't heard about them, this is going to be the perfect show for you because, hey, we're going to get a good overview and exactly what they do, how they do it, their hardware, their software, everything that they do. Hey, I think we have the perfect person for the job. And yeah, we're going to be interviewing Mr. Michael Pearson-Adams. He is the Director of Training and Development, and hey, he's going to do some light training here today. So with that being said, everyone, hey, welcome into the program once again. ComputerAmerica.com. I just want to throw that out there because that will have everything, including past shows, future shows, show notes, and of course a link to the guest website. Although their website is very, very simple, waves.com. You can go there, check it out, or hey, just remember Computer America, and you will be able to find a link to it in the show notes. While you're there, be sure to check out the podcast, which is just a rebroadcast of the radio program and social media, blah, blah, blah. So, everyone, I think with that being said, morning announcements done, we can go ahead and get started with today's show. And as I said before, Waves Audio, they're joining us here today to talk about everything that they do. And once again, we have Mr. Michael Pearson-Adams joining us, who, by the way, I think has a better setup than I do. So a little jealous, but that's okay. Michael, welcome on to Computer America. How you doing?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Very, very good. And just real quick, speaking of the setup, I'm assuming you're a professional music producer. And what is your what's with the setup?
So, firstly, welcome to my studio. We're in Miami, Florida. Ignore the accent. I've been a professional mix engineer since, for about 30 years. So what I do here, I have two different setups. I have one behind me, which is for composition when I come up with ideas. So that's one system completely behind me. And then in front of me, the one that you can't see, but is the one I work on when I'm doing master classes for Waves, or when I'm doing full mixes on records, is 4 screens, one on the wall, 2 cameras, 2 sets of speakers, fully acoustic treated, yada, yada, yada. So this is kind of my domain, regardless of whether I'm doing a Waves live stream, a Waves masterclass, or mixing a record. So yeah, this is my little world.
Very awesome. And once again, I really appreciate you having such an awesome setup because I think it'll make this interview sound very, very good. So I think a good place to start would be some background on the company, Waves Audio, and kind of
right.
When was it started, what is their goal, and then a bit of background on yourself. How did you find yourself working with them?
Okay, so let's start with Waves. Waves is an audio company that is very, very broad, but started with a single product, which is a plugin. Now, we'll probably get to that, but it's like what we are is we're the leading developers when it comes to software and hardware signal processing, regardless of whether it's tweaking a piece of music that you've created in the bedroom, or whether you're mixing a Grammy-winning top 10 hit in a studio somewhere in the world. We have you covered. So we started with an EQ, which is called the Q10, which is still the industry's most used EQ plugin to this day, and that was 1991. And we now have over 300 plugins, as well as hardware partners, software partners. we have a full consumer division as well. So you'll find Waves chips and Waves software coding inside video games, laptops, Fitbits, phones, anything to do with audio and speakers, we're involved in it. So we're here to dominate the world.
Yeah, it seems like you're on a good track to do just that, because I think with obviously with everything going on in the past year, not just the home setup, but of course I'm sure professionals as well have had to really consider their kind of what they have access to kind of in their home, in their studios. And I'm sure that the proliferation of high quality audio equipment has never been more important. So
it's a big deal. I mean, down to things like what you're listening in your headphones and what the processing is, and being able to hear music in a pair of headphones as if you were in a room. Or we cover things like listening to 5.1 and 7.1 surround sound through stereo headphones and being able to mix in that environment as well. So there's so much of what's happened in this year that we cater to help not only keep you sane, keep your creativity going, but also, keep you earning money.
Yeah, no, it's super important. And of course, one of the industries that has not slowed down is the entertainment industry, because obviously, voiceover work and music and movies have taken a hit, admittedly, but the what you can do in a home studio, what a professional can do, what an amateur can do, you could probably speak to this trend more and more, but maybe back in the day it was kind of people would cut others some slack if there was, if the mixing wasn't right, if there was some reverb, if you could hear a bit of an echo. But I mean, it seems like the levels between a professional and an amateur, they're getting closer together. Like it's not hard to get what someone would get in a studio versus what they can get in a home setting. Have you seen anything like that where people kind of expect a certain level of quality, even from new people, even from people working from home? And
but it's I think we can go a bit broader than that. I think what we have available to us today in technology are tools that put people in their bedrooms or in their dormitories or in their little home studios in the corners of, or on their laptops, give them exactly the same tools that are being used by those in the industry that we look up to and those that we aspire to be. Like, multi-Grammy winners or DJs or whatever it is, they use the same tools. And like you have on your screen, you've got, I think that's our current front page.
Yep.
We just released the Abbey Road RS-124. It's an amazing compressor, and I did a live event last week with the CLA Epic, which is a new one with Chris Lord-Alge, who's the guy behind everything from Green Day to U2 to Keith Urban. So those are the people that we aspire to be, right? But they use the same tools that we can use, and you see at the top of the screen, $29.
Yeah,
$29. So. Yeah.
There's definitely some holiday promotion going on, which I'm more than happy to have you guys on the show when you have these amazing discounts available. And hey, why not shout out again waves.com if you want to check them out for yourselves. Before we start talking about individual plugins, I wanted to kind of talk about an overview again. And I think when because we're a technology show, plugins to me, are kind of pieces of software that help, either other pieces of software or hardware kind of work better, work in a different way. But like that's for like a browser or, different applications. What is a plugins in terms of audio that you're talking about?
So I'm going to flip myself off the screen for a second.
Go for it.
This is a DAW, right? So digital audio workstation. Right. Now, in a DAW, you have the ability, you have all these different audio tracks, and you have the ability to split out your audio. So this is a standard recording session. Now, Inside of those tracks, you can have what we call plugins, right? So in the audio world, a plugin is a piece of gear or a piece of software that replaces what a piece of hardware would have done. In this case, this is the one-band version of the Q10, so this is the Q1, and I've currently got it doing what we call a high pass, which is getting rid of all the low frequencies that I don't need in that specific signal. But plugins can do so much more. So in this case here, this one is called Studio Rack, and it's free for anybody who has any Waves plugins. And it gives you the ability to put a chain together of your different plugins, so you have a set chain that does what you want it to do. So in this case, I have many chains. And so for example, if we look at anything with my initials on it, so say for example, let's take a look at MPA USB 2, right? So in this case, I have a compressor there, so that's, and then that goes into an EQ, and then from that EQ, I then go into, this is for a really cheap USB microphone. They lack a lot of bass low end. Mm-hmm. We have a plugin for that as well, so it goes into that plugin. And then if I have any noise, then we have this plugin here, which is called the NS1, which is one fader that just gets rid of any traffic or consistent background noise. So it gives you the ability to do whatever you want to do, and really fine-tune your art, whether it's doing a podcast or mixing a record or putting audio into a video. We have the tools that let you do that.
And, when it comes to kind of the hardware solutions and, kind of what these are meant to kind of help with, I mean, are these plugins something that, you mentioned that, some very big names in the industry use these. Is this something that everyone uses and professionals just know how to use them better? Is this something that is kind of like a stopgap measure for people who can't invest in, multi-$1,000 microphones and setups? I mean, who's the audience for these plugins?
So everybody is the easy answer. And to your point, yes, pretty much everybody, regardless of whether they're the guy, like my friend Chris Lord Algie, who's the guy who does, if you go back, there's a plugin on the front page called Epic. And this is a plugin, that's the one. It's a plugin that we released with him, and it's a plugin that replicates his effects chain and his effects routing. And it puts into a plugin form what he spends a lot of time doing on hardware. And it makes it available to people who don't have the hardware. So that's one ratio of where a plugin comes in. The other angle is things like compressors. Say, for example, the RS-124. Mm-hmm. There's not many people who have the ability to afford an RS-124 compressor that was created at Abbey Road. It's like there are a few people have them. They'll only have one. You can put it on one channel. Whereas when it's a plug-in version or a model of that, it doesn't sound exactly the same as every piece of that hardware, because all hardware analog gear sounds different. Mm-hmm. But it gives you the ability to have the same results on multiple tracks. And that's a magical thing, because it gives you a lot more creativity. Now, the second part of the question, and tell me if shut me up if I talk too much.
No, you're good.
The other part of that question was, is this a stopgap for people who want to try and get to where these other people are? No, these are the same plugins that are being used, regardless of whether it's a Chris Lord Algie or a Tony Maserati or an Andrew Sheps or a Greg Wells. And those are just a few names of people who have mixed some of the records that we live with every day, whether it's Adele or Red Hot Chili Peppers or U2 or Keith Urban. Those are the people who mix some of the top records, right? They use the same tools. What differs is their creativity sometimes, or how they approach it, or who they're working with. But these tools give everybody the ability to sound freaking amazing. it does stand to reason that, like, I mean, you know, to have a really good end result, you actually need some content that's presentable as well. So it's not going to turn a really terrible song into a really good song, but if it's a terrible song, it'll make it sound better.
Right. Yeah, it's and that's something that we've kind of learned over the years of, you know, kind of doing the show. You know, we have transitioned from going into the radio station. We actually started on WJNO down in South Florida. So, you know, that was kind of where Computer America got our start. And we've, you know, since transitioned with ISDN lines, we were able to do it from, you know, kind of home studios. And yeah, you know, technology has really advanced in the past 25 years since we've done this. Yeah, you know, I'm really happy with my home studio, but I got to say that, you know, when it comes to audiophiles and working with audio and, you know, going on forums and reading about this kind of stuff, what a confusing bunch. They, you know, that I've never heard so many terms used so strangely as like the audio community, where it's like it's warm, it's a very round sound. It's you know, that I feel like sometimes
we do use color a lot. Yeah, it's like, I mean, a warm sound. Warm is one of those terms that gets used a lot when we're dealing with a signal that usually is connected to some kind of analog hardware or analog modeling. SSL consoles, for example. An SSL console is a huge mixing console. It's been around since eons ago, and an SSL console is one of those, solid state logic is one of those companies that is automatically connected to a really warm, stuck together sound. Whereas another term we use a lot is transparency. There's a big difference between warm and transparent when it comes to how we talk about audio in the audio world. Now, if you're dealing with something like pop, rock, country, or one of the genres around that, warmth comes into it a lot. You want that. But if you're dealing with a podcast or a video cast or something like this, you don't want warm. You want transparent. You want clean. You want no noise. You want sharp, you want transparent, so that it's audible on all the mediums that you want that listened to, which is, you know, in headphones or, you know, on somebody's speakerphone on their phone.
Right.
Those are the areas that you deal with. So we kind of apply different plugin technology to help give you the results that you actually want for what you need. That's why there's so many of them. Yeah, we have over 300 plugins.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we're checking that here. If you check out the video portion of the show, we're going to have these here and maybe do some demo videos, things like that. But my whole point with, you know, all the different terms and weird stuff is like, I've been doing this for a little while now, and it's still kind of not weirds me out. That was the first word that came to my mind, but it's still a little confusing to someone who's not immersed in this and definitely has zero formal training in this kind of thing. But I guess that's where all these different plugins is that, you know, if you don't know kind of exactly how to express what it is you're looking for in your sound, maybe there's a plugin out there that can help you achieve just that.
There is, but let me take you one step further. Can I guide you through the website? So if you can go up to the top of the page, there's one of the things that I do. Okay, under Learn, you will find, if you go under Learn, you will find Courses.
Courses, sure. That's, let's see. So tutorials, webinars, overviews, courses.
You were so close. It's like third column on the right-hand side.
Oh, courses. Oh my God. Yeah. Hiding in plain sight. Gotcha.
All right. So now if you look at that top one on the left hand, the top line,
right?
Right-hand side from demo to master.
Mm-hmm.
Down.
Yeah, sure.
So there's
right-hand side,
that
demo
first
to master.
column.
First column.
Up a bit. Warm,
I'm sorry.
Left. Okay, now go right. There you go.
There we go.
It's like a game of charades. Okay.
We're good.
This is one of the things that we love doing. As my title with the company is Director of Training and Development. Now, one of the things that we like to do as a company is we like to help people that means helping them learn what the plugins do, how they do them, but also give them material to practice on. Because one of the biggest deals with audio and working in the audio field of any kind is I have nothing to work on a lot of the time. If you're starting out, you have no material.
Right.
This is a free course. All you need is a Waves account. You can download the session material. We have demos of the plugins you can use. You can choose to buy them, or you can choose to use them as a subscription. But it's like I use these sessions a lot when I'm doing masterclasses to help people really understand what it is that all of these different things do and how that they can actually utilize them.
I got you. So you're definitely teaching. And by the way, in the learning tab, you definitely have a lot of tutorials, webinars, and things like that.
Yeah, we do. It's like, and anything to do with, it's like if it's an event, if you go into the events tab, there's past events. All of the past online events I've done this year are available.
Right.
So, yep, they're all available under events, and then go see past events.
Right. Yep. See past events right there.
Yep. Right. So every single one of those that was an online event is available.
There's a few
to watch. Yeah. It's like I've done them pretty much every week this year with some of the world's best mix engineers. So things like the Miami Masterclass and the one in Atlanta and Austin, Texas, I canceled solely because of COVID.
Right.
I'm not putting my staff or any of the public at risk with health. Not happening.
Very, very and we definitely respect that decision. But it's very clear that the setup that you have at your house, and doing these public events like this in a safe way, your Waves is definitely staying busy, and you're definitely staying busy with Waves.
Yeah, and we help a lot of people, and we do recurring masterclasses as well. Like once a week, if you want to know about live sound, we have a weekly webinar that you can RSVP to, which are literally on Zoom. There you go, Super Rack, LV1. It's like those are weekly or bi-weekly events that anybody can subscribe to. They're free. You get to ask questions of one of our specialists and get direct answers. These events are designed to help people from the ground up or professionally get answers to the simple questions or the complex ones. I'm a huge believer in the only question that's silly is the one that you were too afraid to ask. You have to ask questions if you're going to learn.
Right. No such thing as a stupid question. They're usually the easiest to answer. So there you go.
Yeah, pretty much. It's absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course right here, German speaking, that's also different. So
we do German, we do Spanish, I'm launching Portuguese at the beginning of the year as well. We have Bahasa, the language of Indonesia. I'm launching those recurring webinars next year. We understand that our audience is everywhere, and I want to cater to that. Now, obviously, English is amazingly broad, and I always respect people who understand English as their second language.
Right.
However, it would be awfully condescending and disrespectful if I only offered trainings in English. I want to be where the audience is.
Yeah, it's and here on the show we have a lot of products that are concerned with teaching other languages. Definitely respect you for that, because that's not an easy thing to do either. So very, very cool. And of course, we'll have a link to all these different pages on the site, but of course you can find them there. So I wanted to get to one of the questions that we have here concerning how plugins have changed the way that recording and mixing is done. You mentioned that you work with a lot of the top recording artists, and of course these are, that also benefits the people who are in, kind of in bedroom producers, as you call them, or, kind of in their own studios. Has the ability to share this kind of software changed the way that people record?
Yes, in a few ways. So when I started in the audio industry, I started when there was no digital, everything was analog. I started as a coffee boy in a recording studio, and I worked my way up. Coffee boy in Australian terms is basically, I guess, what you would call an intern in this country, but it's a bit more rough around the edges and a bit tougher. What we could do in a studio back then, where all the gear was hardware and there was a big console in front of you, you couldn't do on a computer. I remember I bought my first computer for my first studio when I opened my own studio in Sydney. The first computer we bought cost $7,000. It was using, this is Computer America, so yeah, somebody will geek out on this. We were using SCSI hard drives. The first Mac we bought was it was a G3, beige G3. It had like 4 meg of RAM, and it was.
That's a bit like whenever people come on the show and they talk about Apple, they're always like, "Yeah, I got the Apple II," and it was back in the 80s. So you got some of the higher tech stuff from Apple. That's
I did. Yeah, I got dragged kicking and screaming with our studio in Sydney into the digital realm in 1992. There you go. So I was one of the first adopters of Waves plugins in our studio. And the Q10, the EQ back then, came with a manual, and it came on a big floppy disk that had the authorization and the software on it. And the original plugin actually looked like, hold on, here we go. I can go to the legacy version here. That's what the original one looked like. The one on the left here.
The kind of calculator looking one with sliders and
yeah, let me make it bigger for you because we can do that now. So that's what the original one looked like. However, this plugin is exactly the same today as it was then. The only thing that's changed is you can change the GUI.
Yeah, and that's something that's I always kind of enjoyed about audio is that yes, more things are going digital, but the basis of audio has not really changed since the 70s or 80s.
No, it really hasn't. And this is the beautiful thing is like now where it was going is like all of that was hardware. Now the people you saw in the tease for that course, for example, Dave Darlington, Andrew Sheps, Tony Maserati. Andrew Sheps has worked with some of the biggest artists of our time, and he still does. He's a lovely guy, but he does everything on his iMac. Everything is what we like to call it these days, in the box. If you're mixing completely digitally and there's no hardware effects at all, it's just hardware, audio interface, speakers, but all processing is in the computer, we call that mixing in the box. He's not alone. So many of the world's best are right there with the rest of us and mixing with exactly the same tools. It's just how you apply the tools. And that's where we can all learn from these people, because it's not often you get to learn using exactly the same tools as the people at the top when you're at the bottom.
Right.
One of the things I do a lot is I run mentoring sessions with groups of students, and it's like the first thing they're freaked out is like, you're telling me that they're using the same tools that I am? It's like, yep.
Yeah, one of the things I've been trying to adopt here with the show is that we've had a lot of other hardware that costs a lot of money, but I've been slowly phasing out a lot of it and just doing it software wise, because I do take the show on the road. We broadcast live at CES and showstoppers and things like that. So being able to just take the computer, take the microphones, take the setup, and leave a lot of the heavy equipment at home has been really, really beneficial. Obviously not a lot of traveling lately, but being able to, kind of make your studio simpler has been very, very good.
No, absolutely. And even down to, let's deal with the video side of things. One of the things that we spend a lot of time in world-wise is not the audio world, but the video world. Now, in the video world, especially this year, 2020, yourself and a lot of others included are suddenly going, okay, so we're not doing in-person things, we're now doing all video. So we have to not only work out how to present it, we have to work out how to edit it, and then you still have to deal with the audio. So these plugins that we're talking about work regardless of whether you're in audio software or whether you're working in DaVinci Resolve, Premiere, Vegas, Final Cut, Media Composer. They all work in there as well.
Yeah, and let's talk about the product a little bit just to kind of clarify it in my mind. So these plugins, you mentioned a couple of different applications there. Is there one overarching kind of application that Waves puts out, and then you download that, and then you kind of pick and choose which plugins that you want to download and purchase, or do these integrate with other pieces of software?
So the plugins integrate with other software. So the easiest way to put it is I'm going to do the screen flip thing again.
Sure thing.
You ready? Here we go. I'll warn you this time. Okay. So on our website, you have the ability to create an account, right? So, and in your account, we'll have all of your products that you own, et cetera, and then you can do your upgrades, get the latest version, etc. But also, when you're looking at buying products, or whether you're looking at, say for example, even getting a subscription to them, anything that you buy through a Waves dealer or through our website automatically goes into your account. Now, then we have this little app here called downloads called Waves Central. So, and where's it gone?
See, I would have had no chance at this. I would have had no chance at this.
It's you see, this is where, there you go. Sorry, there.
Right.
So Waves Central is basically a piece of software that gives you the ability to take anything that you have in your Waves account and assign it and bring it into whatever software you are using. So,
Gotcha.
Of course, the timing on this now is mine decided that it was going to update, and now it's relaunching. But Waves Central means that what we can do is we can do. Okay, so in password,
updates are important, everyone. There's security and usability, so do those.
There is, but I'll get to that in a second on the audio side. So Waves Central is an application that what it does is it gives us the ability to let you authorize anything that you have in your account on any machine that you have, any computer you have, and then decide, okay, I want to move it to somewhere else. So you can pop it back in the cloud and then assign it to another computer, or you can pop it back in the cloud and assign it to a thumb drive, for example. And then from here, you can install products. So I could say, okay, right, so I'm going to install that. And you'll see here, it says install and activate. So it's going to install it and then add the license to this computer as well.
Right.
And then I can also see, okay, so what do I have on this here? I have all the Waves plugins, and then I have Soundgrid. But if I want to take one of those off, I can always deactivate it and then move it somewhere else. So this app is kind of where you go once you've actually bought something, either through a Waves dealer or through our website. And then it controls all of your authorizations and all of your installs, which is, kind of cool.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's really cool is on the website, you actually, when you buy a Waves product, we give you 2 licenses of it automatically. So, and we also give you what's called the Waves update plan. And then that actually includes the second license. So you can have your Waves plugins on 2 different computers at the same time, which gives you a bit more flexibility yet again if you travel or you move around. So,
right.
But yeah, everything is installed through Waves Central.
Gotcha. And the way that you figured out how to manage these, I'm sure that and some of those updates that you were mentioning, What really changes with those updates? You know, do some of them get, you know, kind of refined, tuned, changed in any way? Like, what if someone really enjoys the way something sounds? Is it going to change?
Nope, nothing is going to change. I mean, even back to the Q10 as a plugin, as an EQ, has not changed in the way it sounds since 1991. What changes, and the reason that you would want to utilize the Waves update plan and purchase it for another year, which is not expensive, depends on how much you own, but it's capped at a certain price. So if you own everything, you're still not going to pay more than a certain price. But the Waves update plan is there to help you deal with things like, say, for example, Apple or Windows, when they release a new operating system that's a dramatic change. Those changes, as you know, mean that hardware companies and software companies have to adjust their software and hardware accordingly.
You're kidding me. Apple never releases entire new architecture of hardware that everyone has to adapt to.
Let's go one step further. Let's go one step further and be shocked that they don't tell you about it before they actually release it. So Waves, even though we're the largest plugin company in the world, we, like everybody else, have to deal with all of this as it turns up. Okay, so new operating system, so we better start testing for that. A lot of the times, there'll be some fairly dramatic code changes in what we actually make as part of the plugin software that you use on a daily basis. That's what the Waves update plan covers. So if you bought a product like 5 years ago, and everything is working fine, you haven't changed your computer, you haven't changed your operating system, everything is fine. If it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you decide 5 years down the track that you're going to update everything, there will be a small cost involved from a lot of software and hardware companies involved to update firmware, drivers, versions, etc., so that they fit with modern graphics cards, modern processing, etc. So, yeah, it happens, and you're right. Apple, they wouldn't do that.
No, they would never do that. But no, it definitely makes perfect sense. And a lot of what we have been talking about is kind of on the mixing side, the audio side. We have a question here concerning the instrument plugins as well. I guess you can get down to that. How does that differ from what we've been talking about?
Well, I mean, as far as a VI goes. Let me just, so I'm going to flip back to my page here in a second because I'm going to bring up a VI. I'm just going to find out which track it's on. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So when it comes to virtual instruments is something that we started really getting into probably about 10 years ago. The first couple that we released were fairly all-encompassing synthesizers, great pads, great bass, great arpeggiators, etc. We now are in the realm where we are a lot more fine-tuned. This one, for example, we released a couple of years ago. Grand Rhapsody is a fairly exact model of Freddie Mercury's Fazioli grand piano that still resides at Metropolis Recording Studios in the UK. Now, there are VIs and there are VIs. This one, for example, gives you the ability to choose not only what microphones you have in different parts of the piano, because like any analog instrument, you have to choose how you mic it, but also gives you the ability of choosing the levels of those different microphones. So it gives you, I know you can't hear it, but it's like, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that Waves is really good at. Really, really, really exact models of things that sound amazing. We also, we've also got into, so for example, if we go into here, we also have an amazing wavetable synthesizer for those who love wavetable synthesis. Mm-hmm. This one is one of my favorites. And then we have some pretty damn amazing electric pianos, bass guitars, etc. So we pretty much covered cover them all. But my favorite is still Grand Rhapsody. Grand Rhapsody is just
amazing. I'm surprised that a company like Waves would would really try to capture that kind of thing. We have on a pretty regular basis, we have Yamaha on the show, and seeing the amount of work that they put into their kind of making their physical pianos into digital pianos, and all the work that goes into recreating that exact sound. I mean, that takes a lot of work. Do you have in-house engineers? Do you kind of hire professionals from other companies? I mean, how much do you do in-house for that?
Highlight that price for a second. So
$30, not bad.
There's $30. So $30 for about 9 gig of samples. Yes. And in fact, there's actually a video on that page behind the Waves Grand Rhapsody piano, and it talks about exactly how we created it and how we sampled it. This is a plugin that took us a couple of years to get right. So its modeling is a huge part of what we do, and fine-tuning how we model hardware, regardless of whether it's an electric piano, grand piano, or whether it's an archived compressor or a piece of gear from, say, Abbey Road Studios in London, is something we fine-tuned into an art form over the years, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference because there are people who will literally listen to a piece of hardware we've modeled as a plugin and really look forward to, okay, I've used that hardware. How does this sound? Right. And we don't want to disappoint them.
You have your work cut out for you if you're trying to capture things as kind of detailed as individual instruments, like not even just a grand piano, but that piano. That's
specific. That Fazioli F228 that sits at Metropolis, that was Freddie Mercury's. You've got to have some big cojones, as far as I'm concerned, to even attempt that. But Waves is a company we have a reputation for kind of being annoyingly stubborn when it comes to getting where we want to go.
And hey, I can't think of an industry and a clientele better that is more picky in particular than the audio community. So yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. So, and I know I just said that, a lot of this was software solutions and plugins and things like that, but just to keep the conversation moving, hardware, you do offer some.
We do. So there's a few things. I mean, everything that we have hardware-wise is pretty much based around our live sound market. Live sound is a market that we dominate strongly, and a lot of that has to do with an audio network that we created that's audio over Ethernet called Waves Soundgrid. Now, Waves Soundgrid is a method of moving audio from one place to another through an Ethernet cable at sub-millisecond latencies. So and where this comes in really handy is, hold on, I'm just trying to get my DAW out of the way so I can bring up Wave Soundgrid. Where this comes in really handy is in live sound, where you want to have processing, but you also don't want to have to tour with huge arrays of hardware effects. And that's where plugins come in again. It's like the same plugins that have been used in some of the greatest records that you've ever heard. I'm aging myself with the term records, but some of those effectively, are, those plugins are the same ones that artists want to use on tour and on the road. So Wave Soundgrid is how we make that happen. Now, the specific piece of gear that you actually have on the screen, the iOS, that is made by a company called DiGiGrid, which is a company that we've partnered with, that they're using Digico mic pre's, Digico being one of the world's best live sound consoles, and built into that as well as what we call a Soundgrid DSP server. Now, if I move I'm going to go back to my screen here for a second and put my camera in the top because I can and I'm geeking out. So this is what a basic Soundgrid network looks like. So I've got two different audio interfaces here. I've got a DiGiGrid DLI and another DiGiGrid one, a D1, which is right here, a DiGiGrid Cube D, which has got a little knob on it, and it's right here. Shows me a picture of what they are, and then I can click on them. I have the ability to change the clock information if I want to, if there's not an LED light in front of my face. So there we go. So it tells me what it is, system information, and clocking information. Now, for those of you out there who are not familiar with audio clocking, clocking is how we sync everything up together across pieces of hardware and software. Everything has to be clocked, otherwise, voice and image and everything else doesn't really sync up. So clocking is important, but we do all that through an Ethernet cable. So in this case here, I have two audio interfaces connected to an Ethernet switch, plus these two computers. Now, by the way, you're listening to me and you're looking at me through the Dell. So this microphone and this camera are connected to the Blackmagic Atom on the Dell. However, the screen that you're looking at is on my MacBook Pro, which is this one. So this is on the MacBook Pro. So all of these are going through an Ethernet cable and coming to me through there. So when you talk, you'll come in through, there you go, there you are right there.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is happening at sub-millisecond latency because of this thing right here, which is a Soundgrid DSP server.
I have never had to set up something even, that complex. It's all been on one system, thankfully. That would take a lot of time and effort, but your interface is actually pretty self-explanatory. It's very, very simple.
Well, this took less than 4 minutes to set up because we have this wizard here, auto configuration, that literally will look at whatever you have on your network, go, okay, so you have these audio interfaces that are Soundgrid friendly. You have this DSP server. Would you like us to set it all up for you? And when it sets it all up for us, it literally patches everything for us.
Very cool.
So that we have the ability to choose what's going in, what's going out, and how it's getting there.
And of course, I'm also looking at some of the other solutions that you have, where you have like houses of worship, commercial audio. House
of worship is a big one.
Yeah. I have been in a few churches, and I love seeing their audio setup. That it's for something that it's like, oh, the Bible hasn't changed in 2,000 years. The audio equipment has. It's stunning, and because of, I think, COVID, I'm sure you may have some better ideas on this, but because of COVID and public gatherings are highly discouraged, if not outright banned. The churches have really stepped up their game in bringing their sermons and services to people at home, and so I mean a lot is probably advanced there in churches.
So we have a product. We created the world's first virtual console, which is called eMotion LV1. Mm-hmm. And eMotion LV1 is a console that sits on a computer and works on touchscreens and literally gives you the ability to have the same kind of experience that you would have on a physical live console on touchscreen computers, as well as a controlled surface. The advantage of this is that it lets you kind of it did bring it up. Yeah, there it is. So the advantage of this is it gives you the ability to not only have what we call total recall, which is the ability to bring up a show with all of the plugins without having to worry about hardware patching, but everything is automatically there. But it gives you the ability to fine-tune it and polish it with more tools that you could possibly have available to you in the hardware land. And with churches and houses of worship especially, yes, it means that not only can they have They're big live consoles with lots of faders that they usually have their hardware ones, but they're using LV1 and tools like it on the Soundgrid network to take that multi-channel and stream it to the world, and make it sound just as good, if not better. So yeah, these are the kind of tools that pretty much change the way live sound works. The term total recall is one of the ones that makes things like LV1 very relevant in today's market.
So and good, because the 80s movies did not stick around as long as we would have thought. But no, it makes perfect sense. And of course, being able to switch that. I mean, we were just talking about houses of worship, but hey, let's face it, when concerts get back up and running, and being able to kind of do this, get back to the venues, this is what they're using as well. And it's very cool that the same people that offer this, like we said, on a very, very high professional level, hey, you also offer tools that anyone can use, and I find that really good.
But these are all tools that anybody can use. I mean, say for example, LV1. LV1 is an industry standard live console. Pitbull's live console is LV1. Whitesnake uses LV1. Hillsong Church uses LV1. So many artists and so many churches use our software because it's reliable and it makes them sound good, but they're using the same plugins that everybody from the bedroom producer to the hit factory in Miami are using. And that's what makes all this so exciting to me.
Right. And, we already talked a bit about Soundgrid, and I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to round out that conversation with about, kind of what Wave Soundgrid is and kind of how it's changing the way that monitor engineers are using, are doing their job.
Yeah, totally. So I'm going to flip screens again. So one of the things which I do as am I there?
You're there, but it seems to black out. There you go. You're good.
There we go. It's two geeks in the room with multiple video switches. So Soundgrid certification courses. Now, this may seem like something that you wouldn't want to look at. Why is it doing that? Anyway, it's something. I'll let you bring it up. Sure. It's under learning. There you go. I think you've got it there.
I do.
So why would anybody want to do this? Firstly, the first course is called 101, and it takes about 10 minutes. It explains what a audio over Ethernet network is and why it's relevant to today's market, regardless of whether you're in the studio or live. I wrote these curriculums. I wrote these tests. I wrote these videos. All these courses are written by me, and they're designed to help people understand, why is this relevant to me going forward into the world? Why is it relevant regardless of whether I'm in audio or visual side of things? And what does it do and how can it benefit me? Wave Soundgrid is literally audio over Ethernet. So it takes audio from one place, takes it to another, and does it in sub-millisecond speed. It's not IP based, so therefore there's no firewall problems. It's all MAC address based. So literally it's MAC address to MAC address and point to point. It's very, very simple. The reason it's an industry standard in studio and in live sound is because of its simplicity and because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to use it. And adding plugins and a DSP server, like you saw the Soundgrid DSP servers in hardware, give you the ability to have those plugins processing as well in, down to sub-millisecond latency. So, and latency is a big term in the audio side.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is. Is it big in the video side as well? It's like video is fairly new to me. This year, I started worrying about pixels on cameras as well as in, but it's like up until this year's pandemic, I haven't really cared about much.
If there's any kind of desync with the audio and the video, it's almost like that uncanny valley kind of thing where your mouth moves and like like latency as much as like 150 milliseconds later, and the audio comes in, and it people just lose their minds. It's something that is very hard to
drive
watch.
Me nuts.
Very hard to watch. If everything lagged behind. I mean, it happens on like a professional, like your local news. Maybe sometimes it'll be delayed by like just a fraction of a second, and man, it makes it almost unwatchable. But
and I think what it comes down to is like people will go, I don't know what's right, but something's not right, and it's annoying me.
Yeah, the uncanny valley, and it's exactly that. So no, it's latency is a huge term, and of course with audio as well. You want to make sure that I think our latency to one another is pretty good, but you definitely don't want to start talking over one another by accident and things like that. So
no, it's
live production, very important.
So you asked if there's anything I wanted to close up with. I mean, as far as Waves goes, we create tools for everybody to sound better. And one of the things that this year has proven to me and many people I've spoken to is audio and visuals both matter just as much, especially when we're suddenly chasing our audience into a whole new world of online. Even down to little things like there's a plugin for getting rid of background noise, traffic noise. There's a plugin for giving a cheap microphone some more bass. There's a plugin for pretty much every single problem you could fix in the audio world. There's a plugin for it. So all I ask is that when people are looking for things, they give us a chance, because we really want to help.
Yeah, and of course, it seems like you have a lot of people that are very passionate about this. You have some of the industry's best. But hey, being able to democratize that, which I think is a good word to use for what it is that plugins really do for this, to be able to put it into as many people's hands as possible. That's something definitely worth talking about. And hey, I'm glad that you were on the show to do just that. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. And of course, if people want to find out more, I'll go ahead and let you, kind of let you say it. But where can people go to find more information?
Head to www.waves.com. Follow us on social media. We have social media, like in Facebook, we have a group called Waves Audio Files that anybody can join, which gives lots of information. We do masterclasses for free. We do a ton of educational stuff for free everywhere. So just jump onto the website, find us on social media. I'm launching us on Twitch next year as well. So I'm following you guys wherever you are.
Yeah, looking forward to Twitch streams. I think that will go over very well. Twitch has a very unique ability to kind of mix the live audience and the feedback that I'm sure that you mentioned you do classes. I saw that you had live Q&As. Think of it as just one constant live Q&A. It's
pretty much yeah. I mean, I do my own Twitch once a week, and it's like the Q&A just keeps on going and going and going, and that's what makes it human to me. Yes. One of the things which I've tried, especially with our company, to do this year, we've tried to make sure that we remind people that we're not tone deaf. We're human. We know it's a pandemic. We're in the pandemic too. My country, Australia, locked down for months. So when I was home, I couldn't get home. It's like I was in New South Wales. I couldn't get back to Queensland. But we all respected that. It's tough. This year has been tough on everybody. So we're just trying to make it easier by giving you more content to learn.
Yeah, no, and really, I think you're doing an amazing job at that. And everyone, once again, we have been talking to Mr. Michael Pearson-Adams. He is the Director of Training and Development for Waves Audio. And Michael, I'm looking forward to seeing more of you, and I'm looking forward to next year. Hopefully everything kind of lightens up next year. I think we're all due for it. And yeah, again, I'm looking forward to what Waves is going to be doing.
If you want a rough gamble, I'd say that so CS we know is going to be virtual. Right. NAMM, which is the biggest pro audio show, that's going to be virtual. Yep. I would take a rough stab in the dark and say, from talking to my touring friends, we'll start to see some form of normality in the audio world, both live and events, maybe summer to fall.
Summer to fall.
Yeah, it's really hard for a tour to get back on track because you have to organize venues, and you can't lock in a venue when there's a pandemic.
Right.
So that's going to take a while.
Yeah, that doesn't happen overnight, and of course it's but it is going to be back normal, and of course as soon groove into the music. But yeah, of course, everyone, we're going to get back normal, and of course, hey, maybe your normal involves your home studio and just being better at what you do. So Waves Audio, once again, computeramerica.com, link in the show notes. Michael, thank you so much for closing the show out with me, and hey, until next time, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Welcome.
All right, everyone. So, of course, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And, computeramerica.com. There will be the podcast version. If you miss any part of today's show, hey, you can, of course, check it out there wherever podcasts are heard, and a directory, of course, on our website. Until next time, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. And, of course, we'll be back tomorrow with the one, the only Ralph Bond, our science and technology trends correspondent. Everyone, bye-bye.